Well, what is going on YouTube? Chrono here and welcome back to the channel. Just wanted to hit you guys some quick news that popped up over on the site in the beginning of the day. So woke up this morning, saw an interesting little note from a friend of mine and thought I would take a look, and man oh man, this is not the greatest article to find. So SEGA looks like they're making some changes to how challenge mode is going to work moving forward. I'll be honest, not super happy about them. I feel like this is definitely a step in the right direction, but at a cost unnecessarily, and we're going to talk about it today. But if you guys are new to the channel, like mentioned earlier, my name is Chrono. I primarily cover PSO2 content. Would much appreciate a subscribe as we work our way towards that 10K mark, hopefully by the end of this year. Anyway, let's go ahead and jump into this. So these two articles popped up, and we're going to start with the block rankings reward adjustments. As part of the June 2023 updates for some of the weekly rankings in PSO2 blocks that currently have fewer players, we'll be replacing SG ticket rewards with various items. We're making this replacement to increase the chances for more players to get SG. In the April 5th update, we will be making it possible for players to get 10 star gems each week by completing weekly tasks and NGS blocks. See below the details for these adjustments. So this is happening in June. They'll be taking all of the SG out of challenge mode. Now, if you've ever done challenge mode beforehand, basically the way this works is there's rankings for time completion plus points. It is a very, I don't want to say complicated, but it is a very solved formula in how you get the most amount of points possible for this process. And players essentially would get a hold of SG tickets for doing this weekly. Now, if you didn't have like a team to do this, just doing it randomly YOLO didn't really get you the top rankings, meaning you probably were getting something around 30 SG per run, which the amount of time invested is definitely not worth its time. I know my group, we did this, and we would clear CM3 at least with max points, CM2 I believe with like 50, and CM1 with like 30 or something around those lines. Basically we'd get roughly 180 SG per week, which was pretty nice to get a hold of, sometimes 200 if we had a good week. Now it will be 0, unfortunately, and it looks like they'll be changing it so you'll be able to earn 10 star gems weekly instead. Now this does go from a lot of people having access to this, but only a few people doing it, to everyone having access to it and everyone really doing this pretty much standard. People do their weeklies, or they will if they know they're going to get some star gems out of it. Here's the thing, the amount of star gems is pitiful. It's 10 star gems. It's almost nothing. Granted, you get it mostly for free from doing your weeklies, but they give us more star gems for messing things up. Usually we see 20, 50 star gems for just mistakes, and to see this as the trade-off does suck. Now, we do have asked for augment transfer passes in base PSO2, but not like this, not at this cost. People already aren't doing challenge rankings, and this isn't going to magically make them do them. If anything, it's going to have less people doing them, because the people that were already doing them likely already have the augment transfer passes that they needed from base PSO2. Most people that are doing this did it back in base, and they played back in base, meaning they had augment transfer passes, meaning they don't need this. So it's a step in the right direction, but at a cost unnecessarily. We're getting more SG, in NGS, which people did ask for. They asked for reasons not to have to go back to base PSO2 to earn SG. Put it in NGS so people that are just playing NGS can get more SG. But don't take it away from base PSO2 to add it into NGS, especially at this cost. This is way too much. I'm going to mention it here because I mentioned it beforehand tons of times, but augment transfer passes, to toss them into a mission pass. Give base PSO2 a mission pass that gives them a reason to play. Lets them get the things they need to get. That way they're able to build up the armor and gear that they need to build up. And it can be something very static. It doesn't have to be anything too crazy off the wall. It doesn't even have to include things like outfits or whatever. You can include like early outfits or past outfits if you want to, but it doesn't have to be there. And just make it share a mission pass gold with with standard game. If you buy it for standard, you have it for base as well. Give people a reason to play both. You don't have to add a whole lot, but it would just be the bare minimum, and I really feel like that's going to be much better. This is just gonna piss people off. And I get why they're mad. It's totally understandable. Granted, yeah, we asked for something like this, but not like this. The monkey's paw effect, right? You asked for something, you get it in the way that you weren't expecting. So, trade-off, adjustments to daily and weekly tasks. This is a step in the right direction. We make adjustments to content and rewards of daily and weekly tasks during the update on April 5th. This is to review and balance the end Meseta and earned daily and weekly tasks so that daily tasks will be more profitable for players. After these changes, you'll be able to earn more end Meseta by playing consistently. Furthermore, we will add rewards to weekly tasks so that players can earn additional items such as NX cubes and star gems. So what does that mean? Now I'm going to scroll through these really quick here and point out the big ones. So big things that are changing is no longer certain sector, now certain region for these items, which is much nicer, meaning you don't have to go to specific areas, just go to the region itself, gather what they ask for, and move on. No longer specific sector, 50 enemies in specified region, which is really good for people like me who gather everything, meaning that we can just go ahead and kill enemies on the way, very easy ones, and just get this completed. And then completed daily tasks are going to give us 130 N Meseta. Those are 130k N Meseta, which is dope. This is, again, a step in the right direction. We go from 4k to 130k. This makes dailies, if you complete them every single day, give you 924k. Absolutely bonkers. Absolutely love it. They also dropped the end grinder here for the one in favor of 5, which is technically a net increase of Meseta if you're someone who just collects a bunch of end grinders and just vendors them later. You do lose it on photon chunk, but that's not really that big of a deal. It's 1 photon chunk, which is really easy to get a hold of if you really need them. And of course, they mentioned that this is all going to base on completion of the story. For players who have completed chapter 5 of the main story, the target area scope will change from a sector to a region, so it'll be easier to complete tasks. Oh, I see. So it starts out as a sector and it changes to a region after you've completed the story. Okay, I see. I didn't actually notice that beforehand. And then weekly tasks, they'll be discontinuing a couple of the tasks themselves. A lot of these will either reduce in Meseta or remain the same. They do increase the number of stars you get from each of these because some of these are going to be going away. Stars being what you need to increase your mission pass. So they increase the stars here. We get NX cubes, some special scratch tickets, which is dope. More special scratch tickets, more NX cubes, which, to be fair, special scratch tickets are a chance at SG, and the more these you collect every 40 is a guaranteed 100 SG if you trade them in for that. So this is nice, but again, there's a cost. So they are switching this to just enemy suppression for 1,000, so it makes this much simpler. Nothing too crazy there. And then of course we have our star gems for completing daily tasks. You complete 25 tasks, so 5 more than usual, you get 10 star gems and an X cube. I wish this was more. I feel like this should be like 5 because you need 5 just to unlock a weapon as it is. So this seems a little bit weak, but it's something. And then you get a trigger common yellow for completing Leah May's stuff, which makes sense because you're going to want experience if you're doing her things anyway. 15 tasks total. Looks like it's just going to be 1 and you're good to go there. Now, after calculating how much Meseta or N Meseta you will make afterwards, this is going to increase almost by double. So we're going from 624k Meseta earned weekly to 1.1 mil. And this is happening before the other changes, meaning we'll have time to, still run those things, get some SG, as well as get this increase of Meseta. I know some players are concerned because, well, inflation. I'm gonna be real with you guys. Doubling the amount of N Meseta that we make isn't going to cause massive amounts of inflation. Things like Cradle essentially took us from making 2.2 mil, a week to making 10 mil an hour if you farmed intensely. So it's something that you really don't need to worry about as much. Yes, it's going to affect fashion to an extent. Things are going to be a little bit more expensive because players are going to have access to a bit more money. But the real thing this is kind of a win for is for things like multi-weaponing, for things like potential unlocking, players that are just trying to get through and get by doing that sort of stuff. That's going to be much easier. I know it's going to be great for free to play. For him, his Meseta stacks to go ahead and continue to go up. Making sure we get a guaranteed 1.1 mil a week is very nice. It does also give you a projection of how long it'll take you to make a certain amount of money before a certain scratch comes out. So there you go. That should be a bit easier as well. But again, the cost is too great. We definitely did ask for augment transfer passes, but not at the extent of SG. And it kind of also combats itself a little bit. And I want to pull something up to explain that real quick. Okay, so the Uber Clips or Uber over on Twitter mentions this, and he makes a very good point I wanted to bring up here. So here's another conflicting issue, especially for the SG support scratch on base. Removing SG sources is making this even harder to use. Augment transfer passes are basically useless without SG for the scratch or mission badges, and there is no source of mission badges. This is a big issue that I've mentioned beforehand tons of times, and why I say there should be a mission pass in base game is mission badges. That's what you use to get a hold of the capsules that you need to make the really good gear that you need the transfer passes to make in the first place, as well as getting a hold of these SG support items, which if they're removing resources to gather SG, that makes it even more difficult. So it causes this conflicting situation, right? So we have this collection here, which is great to have, but you're removing ways of getting SG or even playing it down a bit, right? Now, a lot of people like to get really upset about this. Actually, I want to use another tweet as an example. Give me one sec. So this is basically the exact response I was expecting to see. This is horrible, by the way. It could have left Classic alone, but no, had to kick it while it was down, huh? NGS headline, play PS2. Basically, this is just like, I want you to see that we hate this. Again, gonna be real with a lot of you guys. Most people weren't doing this. The reason for removing this is primarily because people weren't running this piece of content. They wanted to put SG in a place where people are going to get a hold of it. And ask people to do their dailies and weeklies and NGS, they're super easy. There's not like, you don't need a bunch of people to do this. However, this is going to be a constant response to this process, especially because there are people that do run this content. Nothing against Drip, totally understandable. I feel the same way because this is content that I do personally run, but a lot of people don't. So the idea behind removing it from here and putting it over there makes sense from a developer standpoint because more people are going to be doing that piece of content. However, I feel like the better choice would have been, and I know it's a lot of sources of SG, is to maybe reduce it and then add it into NGS, or leave it alone and add it into NGS. I know people are just want, hey, leave it alone and add it into NGS, but the reality is people aren't running this. So making it even more profitable for people to run it means people are going to try to run this piece of content, so it's not dead. Having both of these in here would have been a better choice. Maybe slashing this in half, hear me out, that sounds awful, but slashing this in half and adding the augment transfer passes would have been a better choice overall, instead of removing the SG and then throwing these in. But I'm curious to know what you guys think on your end, because this is content that I personally run. I know a lot of people don't, because I get SG every week for some runs I shouldn't get SG for. So I know there are a ton of people that don't actually run this content, and I'd like to know if it's something you guys did. Sound off in the comments. If you guys didn't, let me know as well, because I would love to understand where your perspective is coming in. I feel like, and again, it's nothing against Drip, but I feel like a lot of people are going to have this take that have never run CM or that don't run weekly CM. It's not to say that you guys can't have a take on the situation, but it doesn't affect you. Like it's one of the situations where it's kind of hard to stand behind it when I agree it sucks. Granted, this take is a bit harsh because realistically you have to look at it from a broader perspective, but it's not something that is just like, realistically, this isn't like just kick it while it's down. This isn't like, hey, we don't want you to run this content, we're taking this away from it. It's, hey, we think this is a better choice, but let's be real, devs can be wrong. And that's why we have, you know, situations like Uber's tweet from beforehand, where he brings up good points like this, where there are conflicting issues, where we want to make sure we talk about these things. But I could ramble on about this forever. I just want to let you guys know what was going on with the SG, what was going on with CM and all that good stuff. But I'm recording this on a break, and my break is just about over, so I gotta go. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Like if you enjoyed the video, subscribe if you want to keep up with more, and I'll see you all next time. Take care, everyone. Peace out.